the Taffy railway line. With my little pick and shovel, I'll be there. Well, I'll be there, I'll be there. And with my little pick and shovel, I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there. And when the call comes from the wonder, I'll be there. When the call comes down to Cardiff on the Taffy railway line. When the call comes down to Cardiff, I'll be there. When the call comes down to Cardiff on the Taffy railway line. With my little pick and shovel, I'll be there. Well, I'll be there, I'll be there. With my little pick and shovel, I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there. And when the call comes down to Cardiff, I'll be there. When the call comes from the Ronda down the Taffy railway line. When the call comes from the Ronda, I'll be there. Or when the call comes from the Ronda down the Taffy railway line. With my little pick and shovel, I'll be there. I'll be there, I'll be there. And with my little pick and shovel, I'll be there. I'll be there, I'll be there. Or with my little pick and shovel, I'll be there.
Welcome to the Central Stand. I'm Daniel, and tonight we go in where the club want. I'm joined by Jonny, one of the organisers behind the recent Tanner protests, and a voice that's been ringing through the streets, online, and now here. We talk in protest, silence, the trust letter, Bale, the fan base, and the truth about how far this club has fallen from its people. This is honest, it's emotional, and it's for every fan who felt unheard. Let's begin. So, Jonny, how are you, my friend?
I'm all right, mate. How are you, Dan? Been a while.
I know it's been a
Last
while,
time we were
mate.
together was at the Swansea March.
I know, mate. I think it was a great day, mate. Great victory. How did you feel about that day, mate?
Yeah, it was a great day from the moment we turned up in the morning to the final whistle of the game, wasn't it? I think it was just a victory for the fans and a victory for the club, victory for the team as well, I think. And to a certain extent, of course, a victory for Omariza at the time. It was a tough day for him as well, wasn't it, Omariza, on that day? But yeah, all in all, that was an excellent day, and yeah, let's hope we can have some more of those.
Happy day. So yeah, let's get into segment one then. From loyalty to protest, the breaking point. We're not talking about casual fans here. We're talking about people who've been through thick and thin with this club. So when those people start protesting, it means something's broken. So Jonny, the first question I got for you, mate, what was your breaking point with this ownership?
Listen, there's been a lot of breaking points, to be honest. I don't think you can say there was one breaking point. I think red is always going to be the one breaking point. But I think when we realised what the ownership were really like, I think that was that was a main breaking point. I would say that when we were in the Premiership or the Premier League, Cardiff played Manchester City home. We just had a fantastic result against Manchester City at home. And you had Tan on the pitch at the end, you had Malky on the pitch at the end. Neither of them shook hands. Neither of them made eye contact. You could tell there was something breaking down at that point. But then there's been far more. There's been the talk of interference. Now, there's always talk, but then when you get players come out and say, Ollie come out and say, or Ben Turner come out and say, Wankala, I think, has come out and said, and other players have said of interference from Vincent Tan, you knew then that actually the club was broken because it was no longer a manager that was running the club. Okay, it was Vincent Tan, and you know, Vincent Tan knows nothing about football. And I think at that point, when we have someone that knows nothing about football, okay, we've had them before, you know, but they've only lasted a couple of years. Vincent Tan has been with us now for 15 years, and we're worse, much worse position, football-wise, financially, than we were when he joined. And yeah, breaking point is his lack of ambition. I think we've always been a club with ambition and a club that can compete, and we lost that. So that's my breaking point. Plenty of them, and everyone will have something different, Dan.
Oh, thank you very much, mate. Great question. The second question I'd like to ask you, mate, did you feel guilt or conflict turning up to protest your own club?
No. Next question. No, not at all, mate. Not at all, mate. No. I gotta be honest. When you say, did he feel guilt turning up? No, because why do we protest? Why do people protest? Because you want change. Why do people want change? Because things aren't going well. Now, if one or two people think things aren't going well, then that's something. But against Swansea, we had 2,500 people that protested to say things weren't going well. And also, when there was the return to blue, we had nearly 10,000 people protest to say things weren't going well. So you protest because you're not happy, and you've got a right to say you're not happy. And sometimes people don't say it, and they just go along to games, and they just take it for what it is: win, lose, draw. But actually, it means a lot. And yeah, so you protest to make things better, or to at least show people like Vincent Tan that they can't have it all their own way. So the answer is plain and simple: not at all, mate. Not at all.
Love it, mate. Thank you very much. The next question I've got for you, mate. Was there ever a hope fans could be listened to without protesting, mate?
Do you want the same answer? No. Next question. No, but seriously, I think that Vincent Tan has shown that he won't listen to anybody. Absolutely won't listen to anybody. He's got people with him on the board. Ken Chu, Dalman. He doesn't listen to them, and I think there's been a falling out in the board as well. So if he won't listen to his board members, then he certainly won't listen to the fans. He's had Vassemans who have been looking to pick this new manager for us. Now, I don't know what's gone on in the background, how much of an influence they had on that, but I was surprised that maybe BBM might have been a choice of Vassemans. But I happen to think that again, Vincent Tan maybe made an appointment, having paid out a fee to Vassemans, maybe made an appointment based on his own ideas. So he doesn't listen to anybody. So why should he listen to the fans? And remember, Dan, we're not fans, we're customers.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's going on about when we went on together, the Central Club. Like, we talk a lot when we were on there with Cullen about, like, being customers. But what you serving, it's no
Yeah,
customer service, is it?
yeah,
It's a very,
absolutely.
like, it's hurting when you
Yeah,
put so much time and effort into something, but you
yeah.
think you get it back, when you know?
Yeah, you do, of course, but I think you're right in what you say about the customer service. If we're customers, we deserve customer service, and I think that Tan is supposed to be a steward of the club on our behalf. He's supposed to be looking after the club on our behalf, and I don't think, in my humble opinion, that there's anything near the truth in that.
Thank you very much for that, mate. What was the moment in that protest that will stay with you forever, mate?
Um, do you know what? It's a difficult one. There were so many good things about that day. I think that just the togetherness. And I know we're going to come to questions on fans being together, but I think it
Mm,
was the togetherness. We didn't know how many people would turn up on the morning. As far as we were concerned, it could have been 200, it could have been 10,000. We didn't know, but we only had 38 days in which to put that together, and we put it together. And you did a cracking job on everything you had to do. You did an amazing job. But what I'll just remember, I think, is that just for that couple of hours before the game and a couple of hours during the game, that we were all together. And then it just felt like the Cardiff City that we had before Vincent Tan. And in fairness, I'm an honest guy. I think that in the early years of Tan, I think things weren't as bad because we didn't really know what was going on. And there was
mm.
still a togetherness then, until all the cracks appeared. And it's been downhill ever since.
Yeah, I think what's great, I like my fond memories. I think just getting up in the morning, get the train to Cardiff. We were all in tucking, and I swear to God, when we were all there together, and
Well, you were just
yeah,
interested in the food at the tuck-in, mate. Is that
You
what it
know,
was?
no, it's no sitting all it because there was loads of us sitting in the tuck in. We had a little meeting beforehand, and then when we were
Yeah,
giving the scarves out, and
yeah,
when you saw people just taking the scarves, and everyone, you could just see all the big,
yeah.
everyone was just coming
And the nice
together, and
thing was, of course, you saw those scarves on the television as well. So, the Sky cameras are there, and as they panned, you can actually clearly see tan out scarves, which people wanted. People were happy to take. Of course, they were free, but people were happy to take them, and I do hope that they get another airing soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that, mate. Right, we'll take some questions now and see if we got any question for Johnny, guys. Please put it in the chat. We'll do a segment and then we'll answer your questions. Then, so let's go on. Morgan Rogers. He's been way too involved from day one. We heard about him getting players shooting from the halfway line to score goals.
Do you know, I do take some things like that with a pinch of salt, but yes, I hear that, and we've all heard it, haven't we? That he
Yeah.
wanted David Marshall to score goals, and he wanted him to have shooting practice. And by all accounts, when we went up to Liverpool, he wanted Liverpool to play in their away kit so that we could play in red. You know, I'm not naive to think that some of those things weren't were incorrect, but at the same time, unfortunately, based on how he's been and what he said and what he's done and what he hasn't done, you can't rule out that these things have been said. It just makes us, with comments like that, and I will add whether they are true or not, with comments like that, we are a club that is now getting comments like that, because that
Yeah.
is the picture that people are seeing of Cardiff City. Whether it's true or not, it's the perception that goes with it, and I think we are now perceived to be a circus of a club.
Yeah, I got another one for you, Jordan Davis. We are the fans, and we are the true fans who have an opinion, and unfortunately, we don't get listened to.
Yeah, I think that we got to remember that everyone has an opinion. Even if it's pro-tan, anti-tan, whatever it is, everyone has an opinion. But at the end of the day, we got one thing in common, and that is that we may have things out of common, but the one thing in common is the fact that we want Cardiff City to do well, and we want to have an enjoyable Saturday afternoon, an enjoyable home game, an enjoyable away game. But I think we're all true fans. But you're right, we don't get listened to. We are treated as if we're stupid because some of the things that come out. Those of us that have followed Cardiff City for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years even, and maybe more, they can see what's happening at the club. They won't be fed rubbish that we've been hearing, unfortunately, from the likes of the board. Obviously they have a job to do, but at the end of the day, we want to be spoken to honestly. And I think
Yeah.
that so much stuff has come out that we can just look at it and laugh. And seriously, we can look at it and laugh. And I'm very, very surprised that some of the board members have come out with some of the things they have over the last couple of months.
Yeah, great stuff, mate. Appreciate it. Like, as we all want the same thing, mate. At the end of the day, we want our own now who listens to us, invests in properly, just connect with the fans. And
Yeah,
as Jonathan Wilkins always says, singing from from the same hymn sheet, and that's all we
yeah,
want, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, the club will argue, of course, but you have a trust, you have a fab group, you have a trust. I don't think we see the benefits of those. I really
Mm,
don't. I think the intentions are absolutely there from those organisations. The intentions are there, but I'm failing to see that they're actually supporting the fans as they should. And that's again my opinion.
thank you very much. I've got a few more here, bro. They're coming in quite fast. Peter Edwards. I was on the 2 marches last season. I fear if the team top the league this coming season, members will be even lower to the protest. Will the fight still go on then? He said.
Yeah, do you know what, Peter? I think that people have got to remember that the fight isn't against the club or the team. The fight is against Tan. The fight is to get rid of Tan. Whether we go up this year or not, it would be great to go up. We want to go up. I can't see it unless we strengthen. But you're right, and thank you for coming on the last 2 marches. But if we do go up, will the marches be lower? We'll have to wait and see. I don't have that crystal ball, but it is not a march against the club or the team who succeed. It's a march against Tan. And I'm going to put my neck out here, Peter and Dan. I'm going to say that if we go up next year, fingers crossed, maybe as champions, you never know, that it will be in spite of Vincent Tan and not because of Vincent Tan. And that's the reason why I think he's got to go. And I think when we are a fickle fan base, there's no doubt about that. We're a fickle fan base, and we do well, we live with it. We don't do well, we want to protest. But yeah, let's wait and see. Well, let's wait and see if we get up next season. Let's see if we finish top of the league next season. And if we do, and we get a march going, do you know what? I happen to think that if it's promoted like it was last time, that we will get numbers on a march. Okay, because we're now doing well, and we want to sustain that. And I don't believe that Vincent Tan or the board are people to sustain a push forward for the club.
Lovely. Thank you, Johnny. I got another question here, and then we'll go on to the next segment. Chris Parry, Monty Blue. Hi, Johnny. Do you really think Tan is going to sell to Bale Consortium?
Hello, Chris. Nice to hear from you. Thanks for your message yesterday, by the way. I got that. Yours was the first message actually that I heard about Gareth Bale. So thank you. I appreciate that. Who knows is the honest answer. Who knows? But I think it's very, very important, and I think Bale has been very, very clever in what he's done and how he's done it. I think we need to put pressure on Tan to sell, whether it's to Bale or to somebody else. Now, in my opinion, the club has lost out due to negotiating skills on many players in the past, on takeovers in the past. I believe when Bale was supposed to sign, or not supposed to sign for us, excuse me, when it was rumoured he was supposed to sign for us a couple of years back, okay, maybe it was never going to happen. But I honestly think the club could have done a hell of a lot more, an awful lot more, to try and persuade him to sign. At that time, world-class player. I think we've lost out on such a lot. I think we lost out on Bale. I now think we've lost out on Ramsey, because I think he was in line to be manager at some point. So who knows? But I think that it can't be third time lucky or fourth time or fifth time lucky for Tan. If he doesn't sell to a consortium, especially the Bale consortium, I think he will finally lose whatever support, whatever honour he feels he has to the fans. So yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Who knows? If you want me to put my finger on it or toss a coin, yes or no, my personal opinion, I think that he probably will.
Yeah, great.
But who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I honestly think, mate, I think the last 2 days, especially with everything that went out about Gareth Bale, like last night, I was looking on my news feed, mate, and all you could see was just Gareth Bale, Gareth Bale,
Yeah.
Gareth Bale. And the thing is, right, you watch the Sky News one, and then 2 minutes, like a few hours later, then Talk Sport came out with another one. So he done two, and you look at it and you think, hang on a minute now, he hasn't clarified it just once; he's clarified it twice. And
also,
you've got to remember,
you've got to remember that if you come out and say something like that and it doesn't happen, or you don't do it, you look a fool. And that's the last thing that Gareth Bale is as a fool. He's not going to come out and say, this is what I want to do, if he is not trying hard to do it. So I think people have got to remember that. I think the trust have got, I know we're going to come on to the trust shortly, but I think the trust, rather than dampen the expectations, I think we've got to understand that if Gareth Bale has said that's what he wants to do, then he's not going to come out and say that if it's not something he's going to try his hardest to get done.
Well, thank you very much, Johnny. Right then, on to segment 2. The fan base fractured. Is this club dividing us? Some fans support the protests, others don't. But the division, that's what happens when a club loses its identity. So, first question I got for you, mate. Do you feel the protests have brought fans together or made the divide worse?
That's a really good question. I think it's brought some of the fans together. But at the same time, I believe that it has made divisions worse. But I think that is something that Vincent Tan has felt it necessary to do, because I feel that his leadership is one of divide and conquer, because he knows that if he doesn't keep the fans together, then his tenure is in difficulty. But I think the bigger question that I think you've got to ask there, isn't necessarily has it brought fans together. Is why hasn't Vincent Tan brought fans together? Neil Warnock
Yeah.
brought fans together. Going back, Rick Wright brought fans together. Malky brought fans together. There have been people that have brought fans together, and that's when we've had excitement, and that's when we've enjoyed our football. So I think the key question really is, why hasn't Vincent Tan brought the fans together, and why does he want to divide us? And I would
Yeah.
throw that back, and I would ask Vincent Tan that same question.
Yeah, mate, I love it. Straight to the point. Like, I'm asking these questions, but I'm just trying to make give everyone like a broad idea of because I know you express your views really well, Johnny, and I know you can articulate and make it.
Did he say? Did he say untickle it?
Oh, sorry, mate, I've messed up then.
Untickle,
So
is that a word? I don't know.
articulate. Yeah,
I'll say
sorry,
I
mate.
think untickle it. I'm blimey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, listen.
Um.
I mean, it's something you're passionate about, and you just say what you say, but you've got to say it in the right way. You don't want to offend people or upset people, but sometimes it is a passionate thing that you talk about, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Right. So basically, if you could speak to Vincent Tan, what would you say to him?
Um, I would want him to look at the statements that he has made in the past.
Hmm.
And I would want him to see, for example, I'm going to leave you in a better place than when I came in. I would like to ask him about the questions when he said we won't change to red. I'd
Hmm.
like to ask him about the questions when he said, do you think I've not got a plan? Do you think I'm stupid? And I would ask him all of those questions, and I would just ask Vincent Tan to be honest. And I would say, can you categorically confirm, Mr. Tan, that you've made Cardiff City a better club during your tenure?
Hmm.
And I don't think it takes an expert to see that he hasn't. The debt has spiraled out of control, and it doesn't show any sign of slowing down. The club has become less competitive. The players have become less competitive, and we're no longer living in a democracy, really, are we? We're living in a dictatorship at the moment. So I would just ask him to say, look, how do you think it's gone over the last 15 years, Vincent? And I'd like to see what his honest answer would be.
Yeah, mate, great stuff, mate. What would what does unity look like, and how do we get there, mate?
What does unity look like? Unity, unity looks like a Wales game. Okay,
Yeah.
unity looks like a Wales game. Everyone is together. Everyone is pulling together. There's optimism. There's enthusiasm. There's excitement, and that's what football always is about, and always was about for me growing up. Enthusiasm, opportunity, optimism, excitement, and I think that's what unity is. When we're all thinking along the same lines, unity is when you're all thinking on a Thursday there's a game on Saturday, or you're thinking on a Sunday there's a game on a Tuesday.
Mm.
And you want to go there, you want to get there, because remember, it's not just about the football, it's about the atmosphere that you get there. We've seen it once or twice this year. And funnily enough, people might disagree with me, but once or twice we've seen it this year have been when there was a march against Swansea. Okay.
Mm.
And that was a unified Cardiff City Stadium. And also when we played Oxford, and interestingly enough, there was a smaller demonstration against Oxford. But it was Ramsey's first game, but the atmosphere inside there was electric. So unity, I think, is about excitement, enjoyment, honesty, enthusiasm. But do you know what, mate? That starts from the top. If the person that's leading you doesn't, and i.e. that's Vincent Tan, doesn't show any of those qualities, how can you expect the supporters to show the same qualities?
Yeah, great stuff, mate. Also, I'd like to ask, mate, do you think the majority of the fans are just waiting for someone to believe in again?
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's happened before. We'll bring up the name Sam Hammam, who I know is a divisive figure himself. Sam brought the club together, irrespective of what happens. Sam brought the club together. He gave us something to dream about. He gave us comments we're bigger than Barcelona. Okay, now you can take that with a pinch of salt as well. Now it wasn't said in that context, but people will say, "Well, that's the same thing as Vincent Tan said." But he gave us something to believe in. He gave us a dream, and I think what your likes of your Liverpools and your Manchester Cities and your Arsenals, they can get realistic trophies, realistic success. But I think from our point of view at Cardiff City, what we've always had is that mirage. We've always had that vision of success. And that's all we want, is a vision of success that we can move towards. Okay. When we get there, okay, it might not be there, but we still see it again, another 100 yards off. So we start moving forward again. And I think that's that's the success that we want initially until we can get to the Premier League. But yeah, for us, it's just that mirage, something to aim for, something to believe in. And at the moment, I honestly, if you can tell me anything, please do so. I cannot think of anything that we can believe in right now. I cannot think of anything good that has come out of the club in the last 12 months. I could say longer than that, but certainly in the last 12 months, I don't think anything good has come out of the club to make the supporters go, I want to go watch Cardiff City.
Yeah, I think a lot of us felt like, mate, it was more of a outing, seeing your mates than going to watch the football. I know we backed them through thick and thin.
Yeah.
I know, like, the relegation, cut deep. I know I was really upset, and I bet you was, mate.
Yeah.
But we are living in a surprising time now at the moment.
We are, but do you know what, Dan? I wasn't upset. Yes, I was upset. Of course I was upset, but it was expected. And that's the thing about dreams and unity. Okay, the only dreams we had, I think, last year was survival. Now, if you go into a season and that is your only attitude is we want to survive, that's not much to aim for. Now, BBM has said the right words. He's come in as manager. He said the right words. He said we want to get promotion. We want to win the title. He said those, and they're great words. I think every club is going to use those. But actually, actions speak louder than words. And okay, let's see what backing he gets. Because I'm sure if he gets backing, he will go and he will build a team. Okay. Has he been employed because he's good with the kids? Yes. Does that mean we're going to simply play the kids and not bring any experience in? Who knows? We don't know. But we'll have to wait and see.
Thank you very much, Jonny. Right, so I'm going to do one or two questions now, and we go into the next one. Jonathan Wilkins, time for Tan to sell up. Enough is enough. You want to listen to the fans. The communication between the board and fans is non-existent. The club needs new investors to get our identity back and new structure.
100%. Couldn't have put it better myself. To be honest, I think that's a statement, of course, rather than a question, but it's an absolutely correct statement to make. I think we can add to that I think the trust and the fab should be our communication channels, and yet I don't feel we get enough from them. And certainly in defense of them, it's not enough. Okay, it's not enough anyway. We need fans. I know that the fab and the trust need more members, okay, to be bigger and to be stronger, one would guess. But yeah, everything about the club is non-existent. Our owner never turns up. Our directors hardly ever turn up. Ken Chu is at the ground selling cars. I'm afraid that actually, if we go back to question one, the big stab in the back is that Ken Chu actually uses our ground to further his own personal, car sales job, to sell out at Cardiff City when he's supposed to also be working for our club. I think is just appalling.
Yeah, like, mate, I speak to my mate Jamie Anderson, mate. He's on the fab, and like, I speak to him all the time, and he says, like, you go in there and you push the questions to him, and then you have someone represented from the board. Like, they don't even speak to the people that are there. Do you get what I mean? But going on, Kyle Burston, fans have taken a lot over the last 15 years from Vincent Tan. I think it's time he sells up, because I personally believe there's no way back for him. And also Morgan Rogers. Bale sounded so positive and said himself to Talksport to Sky that Cardiff is close to his heart. Will Tan want the fans knowing this due to the pressure put on Tan to leave?
Yeah. No, Tan won't want the fans knowing that. I think that's why Bale has done it. I think Tan is somebody who will sell at his own time, at his own price. But I think anybody that can look at the last 15 years and say this has been a success, to coin a phrase of some managers in the past, they got their heads in the sand.
Yeah.
I really think that. But a lot of people are now saying just sell. And the problem I'm having is the fact that we want him to sell to somebody who will take Cardiff City forward, and he very well may do. But the trust aspect that he's built up over the last couple of years makes me cynical to think that actually he's going to sell to somebody who will possibly treat the club exactly the way as he has treated it.
Mm.
And that's a big worry for me. And that's why the Bale consortium, to me, is exciting. And that's my mirage. That's what, you walk towards. That's what we are now hoping for. Whether it's still there when we get there, who knows?
No, thank you very much. Right, so we're going on to segment 3 now. The trust letter, truth or tactic. The trust dropped a letter, then cooled the Bale buzz in an instant. Some called it realism, others say it killed hope. Either way, it left fans asking, whose side are they on? So what do you think the trust called a fishing trip? What was the motive, do you think?
I think that was, I'd be disappointed if I was Gareth Bale at that. And again, I've got to turn that question around. And I would ask the trust, do you want Gareth Bale to take over? Okay, or are you putting obstacles in the way? Tan will put as many obstacles in the way as he can until he gets what he wants and who he wants. I don't think he needs the trust to do that for him. I don't think he
Yeah.
needs the trust to come out and say what they did. I think that's as I say, I think that's quite a rude statement, if I'm being honest, and I do think it's disrespectful. And I don't see the trust as being disrespectful. I was disappointed, is the honest answer to that. I think that the trust are there to encourage the fans and to back the fans as and when they can, and as and if they can, and to share in the fans' excitement. I mean, who are they sharing in at the moment? Are they sharing in the fans' excitement, or are they sharing in the club's concern that actually this could be a big thing for the club? Okay, and I just think it was the wrong thing to say, and luckily, I think Gareth Bale will see through that.
Great stuff, mate. Going on to the next question. Did the statement feel like it represented the fan base or the boardroom?
Oh, boardroom, 100%. It's only my opinion. You see,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. A lot of us have got opinions, and a lot of us say what we think. Okay, and I say what I think. Okay, often I can't back up what I say. And people say, "Why did you say that?" Do you know what? Half the time it's an opinion, but when you look at it, that statement was read. That statement wasn't something that was thought of on the spur of the moment. It was read, and that's fair enough. I mean, we all prepare, but I want you to think about this. The trust have written a couple of letters to the club without reply. The club haven't responded. The trust have trouble to get to see the club as much as anybody else. However, Gareth Bale makes a statement last night. By 24 hours later, the trust had met with the board, as far as I'm aware, because I believe that's what was said in the statement. We've met with the board. The trust had met with the board within 24 hours and had a statement within 24 hours. Now, to me, I wonder, and I would ask a question: who instigated that discussion? Did the trust ask to meet the club, or did the club ask to meet the trust? And I think therein lies your answer. If the club asked to meet the trust, this is a club statement.
Thank you very much, Johnny. I love it. Shouldn't the trust be amplifying dreams, not dampening them?
Yeah, next question. Because they should. They're fans. Look, they're fans. Same as we're fans. They are fans. They are for the fans. And they get criticism, and I'll hold my hands up. And I've criticised too, but it's only because I see a different way of supporting the club, and I see a different way of doing things. And maybe someone will say, "Well, if you see a different way of doing things, why don't you come and join us?" And they do a lot of work in that respect for the club, and I have got respect for that. But no, I think that they can't dampen enthusiasm. We've had so much, excuse me, we've had so much rubbish come our way in the last 5 years. Relegation battle, relegation battle, relegation battle, no manager, no strikers, no goal scorers, rubbish home form. If a club can't give us anything to shout about, surely the FAB and the trust need to give us some form of recognition that there is something to look forward to. Look, we are the FAB, we are the trust. Something will come of this. And if they don't think anything is going to come of any discussions with the club, I would ask the question, why is there a FAB and why is there a trust if they don't think they can make any changes on behalf of the fans?
Cheers, mate. Right, going on to the next question. What role should the trust play in replaying this rebuild, or have they already lost the dressing room?
When we say lost the dressing, I don't think the trust or the FAB have lost. I think they've lost a little bit of support, because I don't really feel, and I don't know either. What is their job? I don't think it's been properly established what their job is. The FAB and the trust, what do they do? Who do they do it for? And is it for the fans? It's always said to be for the fans. I think they've lost a bit of support because you got the likes of Sheffield Wednesday Supporters Trust who are organising marches because they're not happy. I asked the question, why don't the Cardiff City trust or FAB do the same thing? So it's they've lost support, I believe, because I do think that they're afraid of what Vincent Tan will do if he gets upset, and I think a lot of fans are the same. What happens if we upset Vincent Tan too much? Well, do you know what happens? I think he leaves. I think if he leaves, the chances of us getting a worse owner than Vincent Tan are zero, if you want my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, they shouldn't be dampening enthusiasm at all. They should be, I don't think they've lost the dressing room, but I think they've got to act, and I think they need to promote themselves a bit more.
Thank you very much, mate. Right, so going on to segment 4, Bale's Cardiff spark, could it really happen? One vague interview lit up the entire fan base, and in the club crying out for identity, hope and belief, Bale felt like a lifeline, even just words for now. Did you believe Bale's interest was real or just a soft PR play before seeing his initial,
To
in
be honest,
spot?
before I saw the interview last night, I would have readily believed that Gareth Bale would have been after Plymouth. Because I think that's the talk that came out originally, wasn't it? But I think you've got to accept, if he openly talks about it, he's got to go through with it. Not go through with the purchase, but he's got to go through with the movements and the procedures and the compliance to say, this is what we want to do. Can we strike a deal? As I said earlier on, he's not going to say something and not do it because he then looks a fool. So did I believe it beforehand? I neither believed or didn't believe it. I just didn't think it was something that would come up. And I think what he's done now has been very, very clever. By coming up and talking about it, we now know that he's interested. And we now know that he wants a club. We now know that he's putting the pressure on Vincent Tan to say, look, we want it. And now I think the fans have got a choice. So, it's a choice of, okay, do you want someone like Gareth Bale or do you want someone like Vincent Tan? Okay, I'm not going to put a poll up about that, but I happen to think I might know who might sneak a win there.
Yeah, mate, great stuff. Yeah, what do you think about as well, mate? Like the letter, of interest and that. Do
Mhm.
you feel like there's gonna because I know in the trust letter they did say it that I weren't the official bid. Do you
Mhm.
think he actually have put a bid in, or do you think he's just put a letter in?
Well, look, a letter of interest isn't a bid, is it?
No.
It isn't a bid. But if you don't put a letter of interest in if you're not interested in putting a bid in, okay,
Mm,
I might as well put a letter of interest in.
mm,
Okay, I've got no, I'm not going to buy the club. Um, but a letter of interest, I think if you put a letter of interest in and you're of the standing of Gareth Bale and the investors that stand behind Gareth Bale, you put a letter of interest in with a view to ultimately making an offer.
mm,
Um, Now, I'm not a businessman. I've not got a crystal ball. I don't know. But I think it was quite shallow of the trust to come out and say it was just a letter of interest. It was rejected by Vincent Tan. No offer has been made. And I cannot think of anything more negative to tell the fans. And that's
yeah,
go back to what we said earlier. I cannot think of anything more negative to tell the fans. Um, I think what could have been said by the trust was a letter of intent has been received. We wait to see if things go further. And I would
mm,
ask the question of the trust, um, would you like to see Gareth Bale in charge? Would you like to see Gareth Bale take over? And I'd
yeah.
like to say, if they say yes, what do they do? Do they upset Vincent Tan? Or if they say no, do they upset the supporters? And I
Mm,
think you've got to say that the majority of people would say, yes, I'd like to see this Bale consortium work out. Um, because we do. It's our mirage. It's our only hope. We talk about hope. We haven't got hope for the season yet because we haven't got players. We've only just got a manager. We haven't got any hope other than the Bale takeover at the moment. That's taken over the whole of our pre-season, and we've only just managed to make a pre-season. I mean,
yeah,
3 games organised in the last week, um, including that one in Spain, which is great for those that have booked to go to Spain to see a great international game, and then we end up playing Southend. But no pre-season to think about, no signings to think about, no manager to think about. But we got Bale to think about. Okay, and that's our only hope, and that's I hope it does come off.
yeah. Why do you think they mentioned in the letter about like Plymouth, for instance, mate? He's fishing around like other clubs, for
I
instance.
don't, I
Like,
don't know. Yeah, I don't know,
but
to
like,
be honest.
but he said in the interview though, didn't he? He said when someone asked him about Plymouth, he said he don't know why that even came out.
Honestly, listen, I don't know why. You'd have to ask Gareth Bale that, or you might have to ask the people behind him that. I don't really know, but when people look to when agents, I guess, look to sell players or sell players onto different clubs, they tout around a bit and they play a few games, I'm sure, and they try and play one off against the other to try and get another club interested. Maybe that had something to do with it, but I really don't know. But what I do know, I think, is that Cardiff City is a capital of Wales. Cardiff City's got such a huge pull. Um, it's got a great fan base that's been proven. We've been in the Premier League. We can stand it. Our stadium, I think, still got planning permission, hasn't it, to increase in size considerably. And if we got to the Premier League and stayed there, I think we could do it. I think we could fill it. So no, I don't know why you said Plymouth, but if it's a choice of Cardiff or Plymouth, of course, I'm a Cardiff fan. I'm going to say Cardiff. If you're a Plymouth fan, you're going to say Plymouth. Apart from that poor guy, you got Gareth Bale tattooed on his arm.
Yeah, I did. I think it
But
was his leg, mate. I think it
oh, it was
was.
his
Yeah,
leg, was it?
I think
Oh,
it was
right,
his leg.
okay. I thought he's got a thick arm, but there we go.
Would fans rather dream and be let down or never hope at all?
You always live in hope.
Hmm.
It's the hope that kills you. Um, Sadly, that question is an easy one to ask. You live in hope. Every season, the team that gets relegated from League Two into non-league at the beginning of the season hopes to get promoted. Everyone's got
Yeah.
the same dream. Um, This year we had Tan and we had Dalman saying top two. We're a top two team, and what happens? We end up adrift at the bottom. So I would much rather have the hope. I'd much rather have something to look forward to, because that's what football is all about. Looking forward to, whether it's looking forward to the Saturday or looking forward to just watching something on telly. But that hope, unfortunately, has been crushed out of a lot of Cardiff fans, because at the moment I feel as if I'm going to watch or paying to watch a business, not a football club. I'm paying to watch people do the jobs that they are paid to do, nothing else, no passion. The people that own the job, I mean, in the job I work for, I never see my bosses, but then it's a big organization. Cardiff City, you should see the bosses at the ground. If they're interested, you should see them there. So I'd always want the hope. If you give up hope, what's the point?
Nice one, mate. Thank you. Could Bale be the key to rebuilding everything this club's lost? Not just on the pitch, but off it.
Yeah, 100%. More so off it. I think if I take you back to the time when we were purported to be in the race to sign Gareth Bale, I said to you, didn't I? I said that we should have pushed the boat out a lot more, because Gareth Bale would have immediately, I have no doubt about this, put a minimum of 5,000 on every single gate, both home and away. And I mean, I think he's a big name. The merchandise would have sold, and he's got contacts. So could he be the catalyst? Yes, he could be the catalyst. We got no doubt we need money. We got no doubt we need money, but the people behind the people who Bale is fronting for, if they got the money, they can provide the money, which is great. And the other side of the coin is the promotion, the contacts, the marketing. I can't think of anyone better than Gareth Bale to do that. So he can absolutely be the catalyst, because it all stems on the club getting bigger attendances, more money in through the turnstile. And as soon as Bale comes on board, I think you'll see him, or if Bale comes on board, you'll see a huge increase in season ticket sales. And I think the season ticket sales this so far this year have been appalling. And I think we got 11,000 season ticket holders. Yes, we got relegated, but I think that in itself should show the likes of Vincent Tan and Dalman that people do not want to watch the club. And if we got someone of the likes of Bale in, people would want to come and watch the club, because at the very least they're going to say, this is new, how's it going to turn out? Whereas nothing with Vincent Tan is new. You know exactly what Vincent Tan is going to do from one season to the next. You know it. Cost cutting, bringing through kids that aren't good enough, leaving us without managers or players for certain parts of the season. I remember many years, or not many years ago, recently, we didn't have a striker for 2 years. We played a midfielder, Bakuna, at right back for a season, because he didn't have any right backs. You see, you just know what to expect from Vincent Tan. He's made us a laughing stock. He's made us a circus. And Bale will be new and a breath of fresh air, mate.
Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, so down to like the last 10 minutes now, mate. I'm just going to fire you some questions. What message do you think Tan silence is sending, mate?
A lack of empathy, a lack of understanding. It is a lack of care for the club as well. His silence, I think, is deafening, because we've been through a lot this year that needed a figurehead to come out and say, look, this is what's happening. This is how we're going to fix it. Now, if we don't know how we're going to fix anything, how are we going to know it's going to be fixed? When we lost Bullet, it took us, and someone will correct me on this, I'm sure, but it took us something like 70 days or so to fill the manager's position. When we lost Reza, it took us, again, I don't know, 40 days, something like that, to fill a position. We got relegated, and we had a statement from Vincent Tan, which I think was an appalling statement, because in part of his statement, he ended up blaming fans. and saying how grateful we should be. So yeah, I don't really know what more to say on that, to be honest. But
Thank you,
his
mate.
silence is just an echo of the club. The club hears nothing. The club knows nothing. The fans don't need to know anything, which goes so against the grain of football.
Yeah, next question, mate. Do you believe he's even aware of the protests have gone on and Bale interest, or does he just
Oh yeah,
don't care? Like,
I believe he's absolutely aware of the protests that have gone on. Absolutely aware. But the sad thing is, I think the bigger question I think you should be asking is, does he care? I
mm,
don't think he cares at all. He's aware of the protests. Just before we had the big protest against Swansea, we signed Salak.
mm,
And the club, in their wisdom, thought at that time, "What that'll dent the demonstration." It certainly didn't dent the demonstration. Before, when we did the Oxford, I know it's a smaller scale and we didn't have time to put it together, but I think that was a very clever move to appoint Ramsey just before the Oxford game, before we had a demonstration. So the club is very clever in some ways. You talk
mm.
about dividing and being a divisive nature. That's what the club does. And I think when we put together something to say to the club, look, something's wrong, we're not happy, and we're going to get something done, the club come out with something very, very clever, very, very sinister, and they do something to divide the fans.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, mate. Another question for you, mate. As no, is this about money, power, or just holding on for ego? Do you think with Tan?
Ask him. Honestly, I don't know. Well, I mean, from the outside looking in, I think it's all about ego and honour. He can't be seen, in my humble opinion, to be part of a massive, massive failure, which he already is. You know, there's no getting away from the fact that if suddenly we get promotion again, for the last 10 of the 15 years he's been in charge, we've been a massive failure. I mean, people point to cup finals, and as brilliant as they were, it's a failure because when you get to Premiership, when you win or get to cup finals, you should build on it. And we've never built on the small pieces of success that we've had with Vincent Tan.
Thank you very much, mate. Another question I'd like to ask you, mate. What keeps you going? What's the ember that hasn't gone out yet with you, mate, going to the games?
What keeps me going is actually football. I mean, football is a worldwide sport, isn't it? You follow your
Mm,
club. I've never quite. I remember my debut game, Bolton Wanderers at home, 1973, 1-0. We win. Gil Reese scores in the second half. And I remember as a kid, I couldn't believe I jumped out of my seat when we scored. You know, the excitement that got you. And funny enough, I was telling someone else this yesterday. A year or so later, maybe, I don't know how long it was. My dad took me to watch a rugby game, and
mm,
Cardiff Rugby scored a try, and I really wanted to jump out of my seat, and I couldn't. And I thought, oh, this is nothing. You know,
mm,
football is a game that actually mends and repairs and builds and brings people together, as well as forging excitement and enthusiasm and enjoyment. You know, football, I think, is very, very good in terms of mental awareness, because it often gives a release or a relaxation or a time to yourself or time to enjoy something.
mm,
So the ember that keeps me going, I've been going since I was 6, mate. I'm 58 now, so it's just, you know, the roar of the crowd. You know, that one little bit of excitement in a game. That's all you're after. Boring 0-0. And then I remember Cardiff City versus Huddersfield Town, opening game of the season. Mark Hudson scores a last minute goal, boringest game in the world. As soon as he bangs in that winner on 90 minutes, nothing else matters, does it? Nothing
no,
else matters. You know,
no.
that's what keeps me going. Um, will anything stop me from going down there? Yeah, I think if Vincent Town keeps going, he's just going to erode the club and erode the fan base. There is no doubt about that. But I'll still be there. I may not have a season ticket this year, but I'll still go. I'll still go down. You know, it's more to do with money in that respect, but I'll still be there.
Lovely, mate. Thank you. If Gareth Bale was listening right now, what
Mhm.
would be your message?
Um, I don't have to give a message to Gareth Bale. He knows Cardiff. He knows Cardiff City. People say, he never played for us. Of course, he didn't play for us, but he knows the club. He's brought up in Whitchurch, went to the same school as my boys. He knows what the club's about. I don't have to sell the club to him. I don't have to tell him anything about the club. Anybody who takes an interest in buying our football club, I think is great by me. If they can prove that they have the backing, I think it's great. So what would I say to Gareth Bale? Listen, mate, the door is open. That's all I'm going to say. The door is open. From the fans' perspective, we will do what we can, which is very little. But I don't have to sell anything or say anything to Gareth Bale. He knows what he wants. I think that's the excitement about it. He knows what he wants, and I think he'll share that with the fans if he gets to take that over. If he gets to take us over.
Thank you very much, mate. To the fans, young and old, loyal and lost, what's your final message tonight to the fans, mate?
I've been through good times. I've been through bad times. Football is not about, for me, football has always been about supporting a hometown club. And I'm Cardiff born and bred. I've never supported Liverpool or Man U or anyone like that. I think take the rough with the smooth. People will often say to me, they have said to me on a message board, we've had worse times than we're having now. I disagree with that. I do disagree with that because we were as competitive as we could be, even when we were in League Two or Division 4 as it was back then. Yeah, they were bad times and we had crowds of less than 2,000, but you got effort and you got appropriate effort and appropriate investment. Now, we've still got the chance to be a huge club in the Vincent Town. Still got the chance to be a huge club. And I would say to those fans, young and old, we still have a chance to be a big club. Don't let these next, don't desert the club in the next couple of weeks because you never know what could happen.
Great stuff, mate. For anyone watching this, is there anything gonna happen soon or anything? Or
Don't know. What do you mean?
well, do you think do you think it's gonna happen?
Oh, I see. I thought you. Oh, right. Okay. So my apologies. I thought you meant in terms of demonstrations or stuff like that. We never know about that, do we? But in terms of this Gareth Bale thing, well, listen, it's always a hope that kills you. I've said that a couple of times, isn't it? But actually, it's just a little bit of a dream, isn't it? And if it comes off, wouldn't it be amazing? Wouldn't it just be amazing if it comes off? But if it doesn't come off, at least you've had a couple of days worth of excitement and frenzy.
Yeah, mate, because it's mad, right? We've literally had nothing,
Oh,
absolutely a silt, and then all of a sudden we've had a bombardment. And I think to me,
yeah.
mate, it's been overwhelming,
Oh,
because
it's been great, actually. I've
yeah,
got back to thinking. I'm doing my work, and I'm suddenly thinking. My mind just goes off to thinking, blimey, yeah, Gareth Bale could be taking over the club. I haven't had that for years. It just doesn't fill my mind anymore. But now it is. But if it works, it'll be great. If it doesn't work, then well, at least we had the thought process that it might happen.
well, thank you very much, Johnny. I hope you've enjoyed.
Oh, I've
Is there,
enjoyed. Yeah.
is there anything else you would like to say to the people watching now? What is the dream for Cardiff? If tomorrow we get the phone call, Gareth Bale has bought the club, what is the first thing you'll be doing, mate?
Apart from having a big party, okay, apart from having a big party, the first thing I want Gareth Bale, and we're talking as if he's coming. And listen, we don't know if he is, but what I'd like is for the first time in 15 years there to be openness from the board and a sense of excitement and then a sense of enthusiasm, good communication with a good plan so that the fans know what to expect. That would come second behind the party. Yeah, that's right. I mean, people want different things. People want, I'd like the red seats to go, and I want the Grange end and the Canton to be switched over, and all valid things and great things. Do you know what I want? I just want an owner that I can look at and go, yeah, I trust you.
Yeah, do you think it'll make you very emotional, mate? Do you think you'll get very emotional if it happened?
Nah, I've done my emotion. I did my emotion at home to QPR in the playoff final back in 2002 or 2003. No, Tam's kicked out the emotion part from me, but let's see if Gareth Bale can get it back.
Happy days. Thank you
Yeah,
very much for everybody
pleasure.
watching. Let's make Cardiff great again.